my name is Derek, and today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the LCD panel only on a MacBook Air. As you can see, we have an issue with the display. It's got a decent crack here, can't see much image, needs a new display. The frame is in good condition, backlight's good, we just have this crack in the display and quite a bit of work ahead of us. Here I've got the panel that I'm going to be using in the repair. As you can see, it's quite thin. It's a very delicate piece, so hopefully in watching this video, you'll be able to learn how to do it yourself, or maybe you come to the realization that it's something to let a professional handle. Let's get into the video. Go ahead and turn it off. Flip it over. Take out the bottom screws. Alright, now that those screws are off, we can pop the back off and we'll carefully grab and we'll disconnect the battery. Now we'll move up to the top and we're going to be taking off these screws along with this entire Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antenna bracket that's up at the top. With our T4, we're going to take out these 4 silver screws that hold down the majority of the bracket and the 2 black screws here. And we're going to switch over to our T3 screw bit and remove the remaining screws. And then the single screw here that covers up the coax connectors. We'll pop up those coax connectors gently, and then we'll disconnect the cables here. Then we'll pop off that guy, set it aside. We'll switch over to a T8. We'll take out 4 of the 6 screws that hold the top lid to the main frame. Now we'll take this guy and we'll open him back up. Hang the display over the edge of the table and remove the remaining 2 screws. And then we'll lift up and out the top case. Just like that. Alright, and now for the fun part. We've got our screen here. A little bit of junk there. But I'm going to clean up this area real quick before we start peeling this bottom of the thing off. I don't want more dust than needs to get near the backlight. So I'm just going to clean up this area and then blow it off. I give it a quick wipe down. Alright, so I'm going to carefully get under this cover here and carefully slide my tool gently, gently, gently. Oh, it's a little frustrating, but not the end of the world. These are cheap and easy to replace, so on to the more important part. How to get this panel off without messing with the backlight. So the first thing that I'm going to do is start by carefully picking at the rubber here on the border. I'm just going to get under it and lift it away. It's just got some double-sided adhesive that holds it down to the frame, but nothing that's crazy strong. We'll grab it and we'll pull it out from under there. And then I'm going to carefully go around the border and peel it out from the frame. Now you want to be very careful when doing this not to stretch it at all. Just take it inch at a time, just like this. You won't stretch it. And you won't have to worry about it not fitting when you got to put it back in. So carefully working around it inch at a time. Not stretching it, not straining it. Doesn't take much force to get it out. Just like that. And we'll set this aside for later. We'll switch back to our T3 3. And then we've got a handful of screws along the bottom that we're going to take out. That last screw out, and then you'll notice that this bracket will have been loosened as well. Take that out. Alright, I'm going to spray out any dust or debris that's in here before we move on to the next step. Alright, the next step, I'm just going to take a piece of plastic. It's a very specific thickness of plastic. Comes off of the OCA sheets when refurbishing. It's rigid enough to hold its shape, but not too thick. And what we'll do is we'll slide it under the edge of the display here. And we'll get right into the adhesive that's there. And we'll start to push up the side, cutting through the adhesive. And we'll go like that all the way up towards the top. You can kind of see the black adhesive stick there. So slowly work my way all the way around the entire thing. You can use heat sometimes, but you don't want to use any like isopropyl alcohol or anything because you will damage the backlight. And heat can also damage the backlight, so you have to be careful if you go at it with any sort of heat gun or anything. At a certain point, you'll be able to wedge a tool in there to help give you some leverage as you carefully cut through the adhesive. So here, what I'm going to basically do is go in and out, just gently sawing through it, basically making my way a little slice at a time up towards the top. You can kind of feel the adhesive. You don't want to go in too far. The ledge goes out about to there. So with your plastic, you kind of want to stay about that far in is kind of the furthest you want to go, unless you want to start putting adhesive on the backlight. You can kind of see in there. And do the same thing on the other side, working up the side, slicing through it. Eighth of an inch at a time. And then eventually you'll be able to start to lift this and give it a little bit of tension, and the adhesive can let go at the top. And this is where, if you're going to use any heat, you can, because then the filament is kind of pulled away from the display and it'll start to want to actually pull away. Here you can see it's finally starting to let go, folding all the way open. I'll just set that down now and we'll clean off the adhesive. To clean off the adhesive, I'm going to be using this tool here. It's really simple to use. It just spins, wraps up the adhesive. You get big clumps, you can pick it off by hand. Quickly yank away all of the adhesive that's holding the display on. We will need to remove this bracket, so we do need to hold on to this a little bit longer. But for now, I'm going to take the time to really just clean up all of the adhesive that I can around the border without touching the backlight or messing with the assembly up here at the top. Alright, I'm going to leave the thin strip of adhesive there and there. Don't need to mess with it. Really just need to adhere around the perimeter. So we've got a little bit of dust here, so I'm going to spray that off. And we'll set this aside for a second. Actually, first, you can see zero warpage in the backlight. Typically, if you use heat or too much heat, you'll get this kind of a wavy effect. You can see there's no distortion anywhere on the backlight. That's what you're looking for. All right, now we need to take off the bracket here. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can use a cutting wire. That'll help real quickly move through the adhesive that's holding it down. You can use heat, plastic, pry tool. You just want to get it off without bending it is the main thing. So because we don't care about this display at all, I'm going to just use some isopropyl alcohol. We're going to be cleaning off all of the adhesive anyway, so we can loosen up all of the adhesive with it. And one thing to note is where the this little strip of logic board, where this little strip of board lines up on the back of this bracket, so that when we fold over and adhere the other one, we get it in the right spot. So what I'm going to do is, if you look at these holes, they line up. They basically, the holes kiss the board all the way across. So that's a good reference point, is that when we fold this up, we want the bottom of the board to kiss the top of those holes. I'm just going to slide the pry tool down to remove this board. Using the isopropyl alcohol kind of helps loosen the adhesive, almost lubricate it a little bit so that it'll slide down easier. Like that. And then we'll do the same here, sliding down and prying up the bracket there. Just like that. Alright, now I'm going to take a blade here and we'll slide up and remove all of the adhesive. Alright, we'll take some isopropyl alcohol and we'll remove all of the adhesive from this side. Alright, we'll flip it over and we'll do the same thing on this side, just avoiding the white piece. It's a reflectant for the backlight, so we'll leave it. Add some more isopropyl alcohol and we'll clean this surface up real good. Alright, so I'm going to grab some Tessa tape, stick it here, and make our way down with it. Alright, now we'll tape each one of the smaller sections on here. Like that, all the way across. Alright, now what we'll do is we're going to peel off all of the protectors here. And then we'll take this and we'll set it down inside the frame and line it up where it needs to go. This is just a temporary thing, but we're going to line it up and put 2 screws in to hold it in place. I'm going to take the 2 end screws and we're going to line this up perfectly. Alright, now that that's lined up perfectly along the bottom, we're going to carefully put back in place the rubber border. We'll just line everything up. And you might find that it wants to bow like this. It's not a big deal. It's easy. It's actually not that hard to compress back into place. But that's one of the reasons why you don't want to stretch it at the beginning, because this will be really hard to get it to line back up if you do. We'll work our way around, putting it all back. Not too complicated, just line up the little guides and compress it down inside. Now I'm going to leave these bottom sections kind of loose, not fully installed on both sides, so that the display can slide in without anything in the way. But we need it to be perfect around the border so that we can line up the display, so that we can adhere this bracket to it, so the bracket's adhered in the proper spot. So when we go to fully install it, everything will line up. So I'll grab my panel. Here we've got the new panel. We'll flip it around. I'm going to line up the display in the top corners with the rubber. And once that's lined up, we'll slowly let this down, making sure that the sides and everything are lined up properly. And when we like the alignment, we'll make sure to compress the bottom into the adhesive. So I see a teeny gap here. We'll pull it over a little bit, closing up that gap. Everything's lined up, the little camera, everything looks good. Once things look really good there, got a good amount, got the perfect amount of clearance on both sides. The corners both look really good. Now we'll go ahead, make sure that these cables are not folded inside. We'll go ahead and just gently compress the bottom of the display onto that adhesive. And then we can take our screwdriver and remove the 2 screws that we secured the bracket with. And then when we go to lift the panel back out, gently, 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 the bracket is now properly adhered in the right spot. Now we can peel off the protector for the adhesive that's pre-installed. If it doesn't come with adhesive, you can add a strip of adhesive along the border where this is going to go, or right onto the board itself. And if you remember, when we folded it over, the board basically kissed the top of these circles. So let's go ahead and fold them over to that point. And there we go, lined up just like we need it. For the adhesive around the border, you can choose to put it here on the display itself, or you can put it down here. Now there's a couple obstacles that I want to make sure I avoid, so I'm going to be actually putting the adhesive on the frame. You don't have to do it that way, it's just the way that I like to do this model. Now for this, we're going to be using a variety of different thicknesses of adhesive just to make this easier so we don't have to do a lot of cutting. Basically, I'm going to find the width of adhesive that lines up with that side, and then we'll use it, and we'll alternate between the different adhesives to get a nice clean fit what we're going for. Until we get something like that, where we've kind of covered up all of what we need to, leaving those little pieces of adhesive here, still have those there. Nice and simple. All right, I'm gonna take a little bit of tape, put it on the corner here to give ourselves a little pull tab. And that way the protector will come off when we're ready. All right, we'll just come over and make sure we don't have any dust on here. We'll peel off our protector. Now we will not touch the inside here and get fingerprints on it. Probably should have done this first, but you gotta remove the protectors for the adhesive. The longer you wait, the more likelihood that you get a dust speck or something in there. So I'm really gonna try to rush through this, but we'll be able to spray off any dust that we can see before installing it. All right, we got all the protectors off. I'm gonna go over this and just look for any dust. Now we'll take this and we will slowly set it down, making sure not to pinch those 2 cables. We'll line up the corners perfectly. We'll let it fall into place there. And now we'll put back the screws, securing the bottom of the panel in place. Now, before we go too much further, I'll grab my tweezers and we're going to peel off all of these little blue protectors so that we can ground out this to the frame. And then we'll also remove this sticker just like that. And if you're wondering what those little teeny strips of adhesive were for that we put alongside the bracket, it's so that the orange fluxes here actually stay flush You can kind of see the adhesive grabbing onto it through it. So there's no spring back when we put the bezel here. Keeps it nice and flat. All right, and then one more thing that we have to do as we go through this process is just reinstall this bezel. So as we put the screws in, we will install it as well. As you'll see, there's a slight bow to it that keeps it nice and compressed. As it goes down, it pulls into the frame, keeping those flex cables flush against the frame. And then one other thing we still need to do is just make sure we line these rubber pieces back up and push them down, just like that. We'll do the same on this side, just like that. All right, so we've got all the screws back in down there. We'll grab the rest of the MacBook and we will carefully slide in the hinges, just like that. Switch to our T8 and we'll put back one of each side of the screws. Now you could be doing this obviously on the edge of the table. I'm just trying to make it so the camera can see it a little bit better. Now that I have that in there, we can go ahead and gently close this, making sure that nothing's getting caught or pinched or anything like that as we close it down. Making sure everything lines up on the corners. Looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and put all the brackets back in 3, 2, 1. All right, now we've got that. We're going to go ahead and connect up the battery. Let's go ahead and power this guy on and see if we have everything properly working. Push that all the way in. And let's flip this guy over. Moment of truth. All right, and there we go. You can see we peel up that protector a little bit and we are back in business. Now we just need to install the bezel. For now, I'm going to go ahead and close this guy up and we will reinstall the back. Push down, hit those clicks. And we will drop in all of our screws. All right, and we'll just put all these screws back. All right, now we've got everything back in except for this piece. I'll install that here in a second. But basically, this is done and ready to go. All right, so we've got our new glass bezel. I'm going to go ahead and grab one. As you can see, it comes with some pre-installed adhesive. Go ahead and carefully peel off the protector. And we'll gently put it in place. And there we go. All right, so here we have it, all fixed and ready to go. Now, this repair, as you've seen, is quite complex. A lot of things can go wrong. As you saw, I had that little issue with the glass. Which isn't too uncommon. I should have been a little bit more careful with it. But in the end, we still have a successful repair. If you learned something, feel free to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments below if there's something you'd like to see in a future video. Thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video.